The very first thing I do is I set up my station. I come into the class, I bring a box of supplies. This is my watercolor supply. I can carry it easily with me. I've pared it down to be the absolute minimum. Out of this box, I take my palette out of the box. It's a Tom Lynch palette. I've used it for years. I tried a number of different palettes, and this one suited me the best. I like the fact it has limited colors, because in watercolor you can mix so much from just these few colors. A warm and a cool of each color. I keep this paper towel in between. Anyway, a warm and a cool of each color, a couple earth tones, and I do have an ivory black, but I rarely use it. You notice that there are still some colors in my palette. I often leave a lot of those so that I can mix into them and create slightly softer colors instead of out of the tube colors. I have a spray bottle of water and my 2 collapsible tubs of water. I'm going to save that for later. Paper towel. I'm going to clean up just part of my palette so I still have some of those mixed colors available if I want them. And I also have a nice clean area for mixing fresh color. Put my sponge there. I lay out my instructions for the class. My class list is over here, ready to go. Once I have the things out, the actual first thing I do once I open my palette is I add water to each of the wells to allow the colors, the paints that have dried, to soften and be ready for when I need them for painting. My bottle has mostly water, but there's also a little bit of gum tragacanth or gum arabic in here. Just a hint, because that's one of the binders that are in paints, and I will use that to soften and create a better viscosity, a better flowing with the paints. Next thing I'll do is get my paper ready. I set down my paper, check which side I want to use. Some of the papers have different textures on different sides. I like a more natural texture. And I have a sheet of acrylic or acetate. The ones I get come with frames online that you can, they often come with the frame, the plexiglass, and the mat. I don't use this type of plexiglass when I'm framing, so I find other uses for it. I want to tape the paper down on all edges. I can trim off that later. That way, if I use a large wash, it'll hold the painting flat as it dries, so I don't get as much curling. Today, I'm going to divide my paper into smaller pieces for my demos. Just masking tape. I also will have scrap watercolor paper off to the side so I can test a brush stroke or color before I put it on the paper. A lot of papers, you can use both sides. So if one painting doesn't come out the way you want it, you can turn it over, do another painting for practice or for good, and you can also use it as scrap paper. Then my brushes. I have a variety of brushes, but basically I use only two. I will use, these are my top two brushes, these right here, like a calligraphy brush and a flat wash brush, about a 3/4 or 1 inch, that has a bevel tip at the end. This is great for adding textures. My next choice in brush would be this round brush. It's a size 10. This one happens to be silver black velvet. Works great. These others are extra. If I want a huge wash, I have this beautiful Winsor Newton natural hair brush that I've had for decades, and you see I keep it safe. I also have a very light sketching pencil in case I need to lay out my design on the paper. I have a roll of paper towels close at hand if I need to blot. There are other tools. Oh, here are some other papers that come in pads. This is one of the best. I love Arches. Either rough or cold press are my favorite papers. Look at these beautiful washes, and then you can add sharp details as well. It's a very workable and friendly paper. This one is a Fabriano, very nice as well. I like 100, I tend to go with 140, but my favorite paper is a 300-pound Arches because you don't often have to tape it down. Sample papers, and this is nice that you don't have to tape these because they're already on there. Watercolor is different from all other medium. Gouache is the other thing that's closest to it, but it works with the water. And as most mediums work, medium and dark to light, watercolor is the opposite. If we want white in our painting, we have to leave the paper shining through. So, as we're working along, I probably wrote this too small. We're going to work top to bottom on the painting. Thin paint to thicker paint, not thick all the way through, Susan.
Oh, gee.
Oh, gee. Susan started treating watercolor like oil paint. It's totally different.
Disastrous.
Yeah. And then light to dark. So those are the rule of thumb. But first, we're going to play with water, because how do we make the water work? And what are the different stages of water? So we have gloss, sheen, matte, and dry. You look at your paper right now, it's dry. When we add water to it, the first step is I'm going to get a good amount of water, and I am going to wash it onto this paper. You don't have to do your whole paper. I'm doing a large example so you can see, but you will do this. And as you see, let me do this really well. Okay. You hold it up into the light, and you can see that it's glossy, it's wet, it's sitting on there. And then as it starts to dry, it becomes just a soft, like along the edges now here, see it's kind of a sheen, and then it becomes matte until it's dry again. So understanding those 4 steps, you can't really, but you have to hold it up into the light to see what stage it's at. So you'll see watercolors looking down like this, until you become familiar with it. So maybe just a small little square about this size. Go ahead and put down just a nice wash, wet wash. Do you need
Now, if we need water.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you need water for this step.
Thank you.
Now, if your water gets dirty, this is why I have two. I have one that's dirty water, you all set? Dirty water and clean water. And it takes practice to get in the habit of cleaning off your brush in the dirty water before you go back to the clean water.
So which should be the clean and which should be the dirty?
That's up to you. You just, I tend to put my dirty on the right and then my clean on the left, just because I'm right-handed, so I work left to right. So I'll clean off my brush in
Okay,
the.
we'll just put this in the middle.
Is that the dirty?
Yeah, that'll be the dirty.
Thank you.
Do you want another? Okay. I'll clean off the brush in the dirty water. I just kind of drag it. Can you see, Dawn? I don't know if you can see, but I kind of drag it along the edge of this, and sometimes, and then I'll go into my clean water. So, you have a nice clean, because you don't want to get from using your ultramarine blue and not clean your brush thoroughly before you go into your lemon yellow. That's going to contaminate this color. So go ahead and try a spot. If you got a wet spot, and just lift it up and you can look at it. I can see mine buckling already because it's wet. I can see it starting to reach that sheen stage. At the sheen stage, you can kind of see the texture of the paper, but it still looks wet. The glossy stage is just water sitting on top. The sheen stage is, like I said, you're starting to see the texture. And then the matte stage is when you can see the paper, but it's still damp. So if you touch it with the back of your finger, and the reason we do that is there's less grease and oil on the back of our finger. If it's still cool, it's still damp. Touch over here, not cool. Not cool. Not cool over there.
So uncool.
So uncool. That's our 4 steps. This is something I've added new into my painting and teaching. I'm finding it really helps the understanding of watercolor. It dries.
It dries,
really
yeah.
fast. Yeah.
I must be under a thing.
And in here, now, watercolor, that's another thing. If you go starting plein air, if it's a humid day,
Yeah.
it's going to take forever for it to dry. If it's dry,
So
like as it's dry in here,
Yeah.
it'll dry like that. So that's things you have to watch all the time. I'm looking at my paints. They're drying out already. I mean, it's like an hour ago that I added, so I can either spray a little bit more in or dribble some in. So let's pick up a color. Let's start. Which brush are you more comfortable with? That one? Okay. Just get it wet, so it's quite wet. And then, because you have fresh yellow paint, your paint is fresh and it's soft, just try to dip the tip. Oh gosh, there we go. Dip the tip, one of the corners of your brush, into the paint. See how it's just a corner there? And we're going to do a flat wash. A flat wash means you're just going to take it and paint it on to your paper.
Should the paper be wet still?
Yeah. You can, if you want a nice flat wash, to wet the paper ahead of time is good, but you don't have to. If there's enough paint, water in the brush, and you start learning that balance between how much water is in my brush, how much paint is in it. And you can see, I still have paint in my brush. I'm just going to touch it to my dirty water. Why not? I want to make sure this is in my video for you. Yep. I'm going to touch the other corner of my brush, and that's going to absorb, like a sponge, more water. With that, I'm going to go to my palette, and I'm just going to kind of work it this way, because I had, as you notice, I had more paint on one corner of my brush and more water on the other. This makes it more even. And when it looks like it's even, put that onto your paper. Now you see that by adding more water, it makes a lighter color. And that's the magic about watercolor is its transparency.
Oh, so you've got water in here, is that right?
No.
Okay, so what am I doing, just,
Okay, you're right here. This is your clean?
Yeah.
Yes.
oh, sure, it's your brush.
Your brush is pretty dry. So you can just, I'm just seeing how much water is in it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna touch this until I pick up some paint. Gotta be a little bold with this.
Okay, I don't think I was bold enough.
Yeah. So try that for a thicker wash. And then dip and get a little more water to get a lighter wash.
Is this the dirty?
These are just tops.
Okay.
Yourself.
It's backwards.
I'm gonna get her one too. And then try it one more time and see how light you can get with that. I can start seeing the benefit of 2 tubs. Dry.
So,
Yep, you can be, now, when you're mixing, you probably want to keep the color you're mixing under the color. Like that's yellow, so I would put it over here.
put yellow.
Under yellow.
When you pick
Yeah.
up the yellow and
Oh,
mix it,
yeah, under the color.
Yeah.
I see.
that's all, that's all.
Okay.
Because then it's just going to, you
Yeah,
get in
see
the
the
habit of where your
G.
colors lay and you're coming across. All right, you can be a little more bold. I mean, you're not being
Bold, bold,
bold. Where's your spongy sponge?
spongy sponge. I'm sorry, that's what I brought, but I have this too.
Okay, I don't know if that's gonna absorb, that's my,
This does.
okay. Turn your pigment,
Okay,
sorry. Away from here.
okay,
No, it's kind of backwards, but,
yeah.
because
no,
then
sorry.
you pick up some pigment. Oh,
Oh,
I got a lot. And then you can bring it down here closer to you.
okay,
Needs a little more water, a little more pigment. So by mixing it on her palette, I can see, oh, that needs a little more pigment. Now this needs a little more water until it feels like the right consistency to paint. And then lay it on there. Use both sides of your brush. Push, push like this. Yeah. Watercolor paint. What, Dawn? You look serious. Do I have to come over there? Watercolor paint tends to dry about 1/3 lighter than what you put it down. Nice. What? Where do you spell?
I got it backwards.
Oh.
Is it on, Nora?
So I picked up some more. I already know
Okay, you're right, yeah.
to see how it's doing. I can go and just grab more water.
Okay, so we're going lighter and
Lighter.
lighter up that.
Yeah.
See, but
Well,
this
either
is supposed
way.
to be, well, never mind. It doesn't matter. Turn it upside down and it'll be right. Thank you. Perfect. I
Look at
knew I was
look
gonna
at
want it here. Oh, I see, this is.
You're here because I'm the genius. I'm not. I'm like more experienced.
You know, yeah.
How's it going? Did you get your hand in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out how to take this thing apart. I thought there was a way to take it apart,
I don't think that one comes apart. I'm not sure.
because I was looking to do that, and
Right, so that the
Yeah,
where you're mixing area is
closer.
closer to you.
What the hell is that for? Oh, that's for lifting it, isn't it?
This is
Here.
when you're doing plein air,
Oh, that's what this is for.
what is plein air?
Outside.
painting outside.
Oh.
I know, it's French. We
Okay.
shouldn't be speaking with foreign accents.
Yeah, right.
But what do you call it in English? Plein air.
Plein
I
air.
don't know.
Yeah,
That's what it
right.
is.
You're gonna- We stole it again.
We did.
They're gonna be very upset. They're already
French
pissed about
fries.
Avenue. Yeah.
All right. And now, how is it looking? Look at where it is and see if you can figure out. Mine's at matte stage because I did mine pretty early on. My darker one is matte stage, and my lighter one still has more water. So I'd say that's at the sheen stage. So try to be able to look at it and gauge at what stage your paint is. Can you hold it so it
It's pretty lumpy.
up into? Is it in the light at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's still wet there.
Yeah, and that's kind of
My house painting.
What stage?
Yeah.
Yeah, stage. And this stage up here is definitely matte.
Okay.
You don't see the water happening anymore. Nice. This is almost matte, and that's still a sheen. You seeing pretty well? Oh, yours
Lumpy.
is drying wicked fast.
Yeah.
It's a New England.
That's the main thing,
Wicked fast,
Yeah.
all right, yay!
I love it. Like when you're in Maine and the Massachusetts people come up into Maine, you know, they're called assholes. You know.
Oh, I have heard that
But
one.
when you're down here, they're from home.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
You
hey.
got Red Sox hat on, yay. Nice. You playing around?
Absolutely.
Nice. Okay.
I like it.
Matching dry. If you haven't wet the whole paper, go ahead and pick up a little more of whatever color. I don't know why I started with lemon yellow. So again, I pick up a little bit of the color because it's wet. You know, it's still fresh. And that's going to be different. When it dries, it's going to be different. Then I work it evenly into my brush. That's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making it
Just the
even.
same color?
Whatever color you want, really.
Okay.
But I'm just working it evenly into the brush. And then on the dry section of my paper, which I don't really have one, I'm going to just see the difference that it makes. Instead of a big wash, I have some nice sharp lines, clean edges. So you can start playing with the different, I need a better word than wetnesses of the water. All right, I'm going to, because I want to use this section of paper, I'm just going to take some more yellow and I'm going to put it all over so I can use this paper for something else, because otherwise I've got those lines. All right, now let's try. We've done kind of a wash, which is just even color across, a graded wash, which is solid color and getting lighter and lighter as we go down. That's called a graded wash. Works great for skies. You start with the stronger color up above, and then the haze makes it softer as it comes down. Again, that's working us from top to bottom. And that often in watercolor, there's layers. You don't do it all in one layer. You do a first layer, you let it dry, you come back and do the next layer. Washes. Where's my computer? Sorry. Well, it doesn't matter. I know what I'm doing sometimes. All right, I'm going to take a little more paint. I'm just picking up some more paint, working it evenly into my brush, seeing about, if you need to cover a small area, you can make a smaller puddle. If you need to cover a large area, you make a larger puddle. But you pretty much want prepared in your palette here the amount of paint you're going to need if you want to cover a large area. So that's practice, planning ahead. I am going to go ahead, put a pretty damp wash here. Again, I'm videotaping this, so I'll get that. I got to edit it a bit, but
How much of our page should we do?
I would just do a corner.
Okay.
You know, poor Dawn back there. She's covered the whole page. She's just having a blast.
Sorry.
No, there's no sorry. I didn't say.
So we're looking to have
I'm just
even.
an area of paint that's even color, and try to do it rather quickly so it's quite wet. And then I'm going to take, I'm rinsing my brush. I'm going to get another color. I don't know what color. I'm going to grab this kind of purpley color, mix it up a little bit.
Let's see. That's mix it up in the tray.
I'm mixing it so it's not, you know, so it's a nice blend of how much water there is and how much paint there is. And while this is still wet, in my yellow, I'm going to just drop some in there and drag the brush across. Now watch, it will bleed, it will blossom.
What if it's already dry?
Then you need to add,
Purple with
Nice and
yellow,
wet.
that make
Now,
like brown?
drop that in there.
Yeah, sort of. I said, sometimes it sits
See,
on
don't
top.
overwork it. Do a couple of strokes and let it do its own thing so it bleeds and
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
If we keep touching it, it's going to blend it in and it's not gonna make these cool. And now you can see the difference
Yeah.
between wet and wet and
Right,
wet
and dry.
on the sheen. Yeah. Now this looks like you're just playing around with paint. Yes, we are. We're playing with paint. But it's going to teach you approaches that you can use as you advance into your painting.
Yeah.
See how much more transparent that is. That feeling better, like watercolor now?
Yeah, because I'm not going,
And you're not just taking this
right,
and
and
painting
plopping
on.
it on, yeah. True.
That is called wet and wet. If you did the same thing off to the side where it's dry, I have a dry spot, and I did these same marks, whoops, you can see that they're not blended edges. These are kind of the same two marks, but one is blending and doing some cool things, and the other is staying like sharp edges and sharp lines. That purple is really stubborn. Okay. You can imagine, I'm going to show the video so you can see, that this is like a flower with those rough edges, or in the distance, the trees along the ridge of a mountain. So that you would kind of want to do wet into wet for that effect. Where if you want sharp things, like you're doing buildings or something that needs a sharp edge, you want wet on dry. You want to do it on the dry paper. What if you're liking this wet on wet one, and you want to put a building in here? We wait for it to dry, and then you can come in with some little strokes. Tilt it this way, and then I can add a building in if I want to. You know, when it's dry on dry. I just did that with a couple little vertical strokes like this. I took this one, swished it, and then this one I just touched. I'll do that again on the video. Straight down mark. Get some more red for the roof. Swish it down. This one looks more like a shed. But you don't need a lot of strokes, like in 3 or 4 strokes, you can have your building.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, playing around with it. You're very unevenly loaded on your brush. You're very aware of that, okay?
Okay.
So, yeah, so,
Sure.
yeah, just, you know, you can just take this brush and pull it right down and create a full side. And then however you want your, see how we do a roof.
I see.
Swoosh like that.
Oh.
And then you, oh, watch it. This
Okay,
is what this is real quick. Take this while this is still damp. And once it's dry, it's going to do something different.
Okay.
But then it kind of indicates windows. We don't have to spell everything out. We can indicate it, and the viewer's mind will finish the painting. If we spell everything out for the viewer, then they have no involvement in the painting. We want to kind of leave things partially unsaid so that they feel involved. This is very dry and dry, right? That's dry brush. Nice.
So should I put this on that? Or,
It's not going to do anything. You can try it on that, but it's not going to do anything.
okay. Well, I wanted to try,
This flat,
The what?
like the flat stroke.
Can I look
Yeah.
look at your brush?
Yeah.
Look how there's a glob of paint here
Yeah.
and it's blended in there.
yeah,
I would get a little more water, come up here, and you want to work this around a little bit
okay.
so it's
It's a little more
even.
even, yeah.
See how evenly
Yeah.
loaded it is now?
Okay. So now, just kind of,
Try some strokes.
okay.
I'm gonna grab you too. That's nice texture. Pull in some of this other too.
Oh, goody.
Right? It's not much. And then because this is a thinner brush. Oh God. You could tell I had coffee this morning.
dear.
Gotta have coffee.
Mm-hmm. It interferes with my brush strokes. I mean, it's not that I did it not great, but you can see it's kind of, and you go like, oh, sorry, just grabbing the brush here. I'm gonna grab some of this. That's dark and dark, that won't bother that much. You know how I still have blue as I'm going into this brown, but you don't wanna do that over here, for sure. So I can use this edge like that. Anyway,
That was fun.
it's a barn door now. Thought it was gonna be a house. I'm too far away. I'm messing it up.
And
on you.
upside down.
I'm messing it up. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter upside down. These are just marks we're making. That's, I think you were talking about earlier, is sometimes our mind wants to fix things. So drawing upside down is because you're not looking at it consciously anymore. You're just looking at the shapes and the relationships. And that's why I can do it, because our mind goes like, oh no, this is a face. I have to make it this way. I have to do this, and then it starts taking over instead of what we're looking at or what we're creating. That takes priority. That makes sense.
So when you're in the neighborhood,
Thank you, Don.
drop by. Drop by.
Have a cup of tea.
I got some sweet tea.
I get so stuck up here. Thank you. Nice. Oh, this is. Can you see this is like some flowers or something?
Yeah. I'm impressed. I tried
nice
all of
dry
these just to
brush
see
here.
what would happen.
Yeah. And you can see it's drying quite a bit now, so
Yeah.
you're at the matte stage in these. But becoming aware of those 4 stages is what's, and often just keep scrap paper. If this doesn't, you can use this as practice for marks and brush strokes and stuff for a long time.
Oh,
I mean, you're not gonna get a nice painting out of this right now.
that,
But you're learning.
yeah, I wasn't.
The approaches, that's what this step is about. So keep playing, try different things. Maybe try the wash again with the wet and wet. And I mean, I still have some places that are at the sheen stage and other places at the matte stage on this. Surprising how some. So go ahead and play, pick up another color maybe, make sure you have a clean brush. Try it where it's a little wet. Oops. I just noticed before I put my brush down that my paint was not evenly mixed in my brush. You're going to end up with globs that way. You want it so it's just mixed. It's like making popovers, right? You want those lumps out of there, but you don't want to over mix it because that dulls the color. Balance again. If you're not sure, have a piece of scrap paper and make a little mark on that to see if it's going to come out nicely.
Do you have a preference for synthetic versus the brush hairs?
A lot of the synthetics today are excellent. Really excellent brushes. Yeah. This one's a synthetic. And I wouldn't buy a natural hair now, I think.
Okay.
Well, the poor little squirrels. It's usually squirrels and stuff, you know.
You mean the tree rats?
I like they get into something, right?
Have you seen what a natural brush is these days?
For pricing?
Oh my God.
Well, they got to go out and catch those squirrels, and
Yeah,
then they got to
that's
pluck
true.
them, and
And they're
yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they
really
are.
fast. And they bite.
Yeah, they do.
There
They
you
gotta.
go.
They're little. They're self-protective.
So if you still see some color in the brush and you're going for another color, is it not clean enough?
Some of your colors will stain this white brush.
Okay.
This your dirty water.
Yes.
When at the bottom of the tub, I kind of go like this. I don't push it hard because it'll break the hairs, but just swish it back and forth so it spreads the hairs out and gets
Okay.
it. You can do this, and you can check on a clean paper towel,
Okay.
and you can see that there's no more paint in there,
Okay, I see.
so it stained the brush. Good question. You can't see whether it's it has stained the brush.
So much fun.
This is cool.
This is knowing when it's between sheen and matte when we go to use salt to create texture like snowflakes. Not this week. You have to really understand where the water is, what stage it's at, because it will not work. Salt will not work to create a cool effect at the gloss stage or the dry stage. It basically has to be somewhere between the sheen and the matte. So timing. That's like if you see watercolors and they're painting along, you start talking to them, I'm like, I have to finish this wash. Because some of them, if you stop part way, you'll create a line. And if you're doing a sky or something, you want a nice, even wash down. You can't stop. You have to have enough paint and be ready to do it all and then say, okay, now we can talk. Questions, thoughts? Yes.
Repeat the salt thing, please.
Oh, I'm going to teach you that later.
But
But that's
salting.
that's all.
Matt.
It's going to help us learn when to put it down, the mat.
Okay.
This stage will help us in some of the other stages. Also, whether you want a huge blossom or something more controlled, like the edge of a mountain, you don't want it. Let me back up. A wet and wet. If you do it at a glossy stage, you're going to get like clouds, blending into each other, and the colors blend. At the sheen stage, it's going to be a little more controlled. You can almost see the edges of the clouds, but it's still blossoming out that way. Probably at the matte stage, or between the sheen and the matte, if you're doing a mountain, it'll create just a little tiny blossom, so it looks like little trees in the distance, and you don't have to draw them all in. It happens naturally, and it makes the watercolor look beautiful and expressive and free-flowing. I like that you're using your big flat brushes. Susan, that looks very thick.
Yeah,
So what would you do?
I would go.
There you go. You learn, and you get some uneven loading in the
Yeah,
brush.
that's what I noticed first.
So go ahead and, really do this kind of back
Okay.
and forth, and then you can see it's more even.
It's more even. Yeah. Is that still too thick?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty good. But that's why if you have a scrap off to the side, you can test it before you put it on paint. If you have a big, beautiful painting going, and you're not sure how much paint you have in your brush, or if it's the right
Sure.
amount or anything, or you need to do a special brush stroke, that's why you have a scrap paper off to the side to try it before you ruin your big painting.
Big painting, yeah, okay.
Watercolor, we want it to remain fresh and clear. You don't want to overwork it. And it partly has a mind of its own. As you can see, when you're doing the wet and wet, you don't have much control over that. You have some control, but you lay it down and you wait to see what the paint's going to do, and you go, oh, that's what you want to do. And then you decide, how am I? So it's a partnership. You're working back and forth with watercolor, where other mediums you can control it. Oil, you totally control.
I like being in control.
Well, it's good to break out.
I'm trying.
I feel like I only have two techniques, skinny line and a flat
And
line.
fat line.
At this point, you basically do. With your big flat, most of you are using the wash brushes. I like this. Most people at this stage in the class are still using, they're drawing with their brush. This is not a drawing tool. This is a painting tool. So I'm going to pick up some paint in my brush. I've got a blue for some reason. I just happen to have it in my brush. And you can see with these nice chiseled flat wash brushes, I can start and go across, nice thin line, and then I can twist it, get thick, and then I can go back thin again. Another thing you can do with this is you can just touch it and you're making fence posts or anything like that.
That's cool.
The trick is you don't want those to look like little soldiers, you know. So be careful of that. Things in nature are all irregular. And the more comfortable you get, especially if you've been drinking coffee in the morning, if you work your brush strokes a little faster, they'll be nice and smooth. While we still have this one, so those are kind of try this as well. Put the brush down on the chiseled edge. I don't know if can you see, okay. Just set it, and then I'm just gonna go around one of the corners. So I'm taking the brush, here's the brush is lying this way, and I'm twisting it so one corner stays put and the other goes like this.
Groovy.
Yeah. So what you're learning now is different strokes and different ways your brush can make its marks. Yeah, and it's going to end up with a little double in between, but that would be a nice center of some flowers. That could work very nicely. More paint.
More paint.
More water.
More gin.
More coffee.
As long as there's no sugar in it, you could use it. If it's a very wet day, I have a friend who's an artist. I think he does this on purpose, but he uses vodka
Oh, how fun.
in his pastels, basically,
How fun.
to liquidize them. Because it's kind of a combination. You can either use water or alcohol. The alcohol will make it dry faster.
Yeah.
But he uses that, I think, partially to get people's attention,
Right.
which is kind of cool. And also that, my concern is, because I worked in a winery for a couple of years, that there's no sugar in it. Because if there's any sugar in that alcohol, that's going to attract mold.
Interesting.
And you don't want that in your painting. So it has to be very, very dry. You know, like what they have in Europe. What is it they call agua ardiente or something like that? Agua ardiente?
Water.
But burning water. It's their alcohol is like 97, 99% proof. Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
Brain damage.
My friend in Italy made her grandmother's recipe for crema de limoncello.
Oh.
And she used the 99.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That puts you under the table.
It was an ancient recipe. That would work because there's no sugar in that, you know.
Ooh,
It's
wow.
been fermented until it's.
Am I doing this right? That you're saying that. How do you do
Yeah,
that?
you get to. Sometimes you can prop your arm
Ah,
with the other hand. Can I go on here?
sure.
I don't know how much paint I have in my. See how I just tested? You
Yeah.
can test on the
Oh,
tape
that's a
too.
good idea.
And just, then just.
I'll just
bring it
twist around, sort of
Just
like I was
twist
doing there.
And go all the way around, which
Whoa.
I wasn't at the right angle. Oh, but that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
That's what Carla was doing. She was doing the whole circle. Now you can see I'm dry.
Yes.
So I add a little more. I'm gonna mess up your paint,
That's okay.
sorry. So I have to plan ahead because I know my hand doesn't naturally go all the way around. Nope, it's not coming.
Cool.
I don't know. So you practice that.
Looks like a shrimp.
I started doing. I don't know when I started doing this, but you can do it to put on your makeup too. You know,
Oh, yeah.
anything to steady your hand
That's right.
because you're coming at it this way at two different angles, and it
Mm.
physically helps strengthen. And our hand does not naturally twist all the way around. People learn that in my
No,
drawing
that's-
class.
Yeah.
This is a natural movement. This is not. So I tell them, do this, then turn your paper and do that again.
Ah,
And it's also easier to go this way than to draw a straight line coming at you. So if you need a line coming down, you turn your paper so it's this way, and then you turn it back. Okay. What if we... I just dipped my dirty brush into my clean water. Oh, if you are painting at home, it's nice to have a thermos or something with a cover on it, as Chris does. And if you have coffee in a mug or something like that, put it on, any lefties here, we're all right-handed, put it on the left side, because there's nothing worse than taking a brush with paint on it and sticking it into your coffee. Because you will find
A swig of,
your dirty water ends up looking like coffee with cream. Okay, one more time with the wide brush. I've got a good amount of blue. I'm gonna pick that up on one corner, so my brush is here. I'm gonna pick up one color on this corner and one color on the other corner. So it's a wet brush. I pick up one color, and then I'll go pick up the other color. And here we go. Ribbon candy.
that's cute.
And all I did, that's cute, is twist the brush over. Now we
And you
can,
use 2 colors?
two colors,
Okay.
any 2 colors. Yep, we can do all these little paintings or American flags. Or if you're doing a flower and it's darker toward the center and a different color toward the end of the petals, you can do that. I'll let you play with that a bit. Now you can see that you can paint over areas that are dry. Right?
Yeah. It's so funny, it just sort of stopped me.
Right here?
Yeah.
Because I ran out of water or something.
Yeah.
And that's oftentimes, now if you don't want that in your paint, you still have that in the color.
No, it's just water.
I'm just gonna lighten.
Yeah.
And then
Blend it in, that's nice. And so you could do that with blotches too.
you can, but you have to be careful because it can mess it up more.
Yeah, okay,
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's better just to not take the risk.
yeah.
Having fun with the ribbon? Use your brush when you brush it.
I'm not getting a two-tone effect. I'm
A
not sure
lighter-
what I'm doing.
A lighter and a darker shouldn't be a problem, really. If we can pick it up and put it up here. It's getting a dark color into a light color. Yeah.
Terry Lynn, did you happen to take the paper towels that were here?
Yes, I did. They're right here. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was doing it when I was handing out
No,
paper
it's
towels this
fine.
morning. Okay, so we've got this blue in one corner, and then let's try the purple in the other corner. You can't really see it. Let me see if I have try it again. Purple here. Blue here. So you have the 2 colors.
Yeah.
You can kind of test them, and it's ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, welcome.
Okay, so do.
Twist and flip it over. Yeah,
Oh,
or
flip it
whatever.
over.
See, so the red started at the bottom and then it's on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can tell too when your brush runs out of paint, right? Have you run into that yet? It's like, it ran out of paint.
Yeah.
Oops. Now what do I do? Well, if you have a wet leading edge, you can get some more paint work right in it. But if it's already partially dried out, you're going to end up with these, like that line or
Yeah.
something. That's a blossom.
Yeah.
And how do we learn how to not do that? We don't. Practice. Play. I want to call it play instead of practice, but I found all of us like, oh, so what are you working on? No. What are you playing with? It helps us relax. Have more fun.
You feel like
But
cleaning.
the more you do it, I'm working with this online school right now, and these people try to do a beautiful painting in one go. I'm like, paint it again. Do a bunch of little ones. Try. Check your strokes. Try different things. Then go to the big one. Because they want instant results. And we don't. You have to realize the Chinese and Japanese calligraphers, they spend years learning to grind ink and then how to make brush strokes. And that's why it looks so beautiful. So the more you do it, the more comfortable you are with it. What else can we do with this guy? I think we're pretty good on this one. Let's try one of our round brushes. Teach some brush strokes. You've learned with your flat brush. Okay. Did you double load it? Yeah. And see, it's all dried out now.
Yeah, right.
This is my calligraphy brush. You don't necessarily have that, right? So, I mean, you just have a round. Does anyone have one of these, or you just have the round brush? Round. I'm gonna get the round
It's not
brush.
as fat.
Yeah.
Pointy.
This one I bought for my classes years ago, and I kept a couple for I had a couple for myself as well. It was less than $5, and it's one of the best brushes I've ever had, and I can't find it anywhere
Of
anymore.
course not.
It's a Mao, Little Yang. I've done searches, everything. It's just, I can't find it. So hang on to it. All right, so I'm going to take a round brush. This is not really a calligraphy brush, it's just a round brush. First thing we do, get it wet in our clear water. Brush it off. Make sure it's damp. You don't want super soaking wet. And then find a color, any color, and really try to load your brush quite a bit with that color. So pick up some paint, mix it into your palette till it's smooth. If it looks like it's getting dry, add a little more water. If it looks like it needs more paint, add more paint. You want a pretty solid color on your palette. I gotta clean my palette up. I leave these grays in here because sometimes I don't want pure color in my painting, and I can easily grab some of this gray color and bring it in here to soften that color. That's why I do that. All right, now we can use just the I have to do it this way, I'm sorry. The very, very tip of the brush to get a thin line. And as you see, the more you press down, the fatter the line gets. I've gone to pick up a little more water. It gets so dry in here. Thin lines, dragging. So you kind of at a slight angle, dragging the brush along. Try to back off. You know how on a bat you have to choke up? This one you want to back off a little bit. It'll loosen. If we're trying to do like we're writing and really tight, our marks are going to be tight. Back off. That's why it has a long handle. And try to learn that gentle touch to get just the tip or to press slowly down and get thicker lines. As your brush starts to dry out, you will notice you'll get a broken line. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you want that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want that texture.
Should you go back over it if you don't want it, or just leave it?
If you're doing a
Guess it depends.
squiggly line, it depends on what you want, but if it's squiggly, it's going to be hard to follow exactly the same squiggle. You're being a little light. You've got quite a bit of color. Let me see your red.
Is that too much?
I don't know. It looks like there might be kind of a lump in it.
Entirely possible.
Is it mixed well? Oh, it's dry.
Oh, I just put it out. Oh, it probably got dry in there.
Yeah.
All right.
But watercolor, you need to mix the water with it. Feel how that mixes now. Before the brush was kind of sticky. Just mush it around. See?
Mm-hmm,
Okay, that's kind of the feeling you want. Got a lot of paint in there. Now you can play with it.
Okay.
If you need it lighter, add more water. We don't add white in watercolor. We add water to lighten it. Very nice strokes. You've been painting before, right? terrible. Nice, so you can see, yeah, that looks good. So you can feel that feeling of being way up on the tip, up on the tip and then down, around. You can do so many things with it.
It's so graceful.
Isn't it? It's something soothing. Notice how light your color is.
Mhm.
So you need to make it deeper. You need
I do.
more paint.
Oh, okay.
So I would first get a little more water
Okay.
and then get a little more paint. Yep. Dab it until you know you have some and then mix it in there so it looks, yep, I'm gonna dab it even more.
Okay.
You hardly got it, it's beginning to dry.
Okay.
So you can feel some of it there, pull it out and mix it.
Okay.
See how I'm going back? And I'm trying to look at the balance here. That looks like more.
Okay.
I'm gonna play.
So,
And then try lines like thin, thick, you can twist it. So play with your brush, see what it can do. Start at that very tip, press it down, get thick, twist it around maybe. Oh, you're just having too much fun. It's drying out a little bit,
Yeah,
so what do? Unless you want that, you might want that sometimes. See how it's just skimming
yeah.
across
I
the
do.
surface?
So I decided to leave it alone because I didn't know what I was doing.
So what do you need to do? If you
So-
don't want this and you want more of this, what do you need to
So
do?
I need more water.
More water and more paint.
Okay, so I did this.
More water, more
I'll do
paint.
that. What if I do that?
Did you get more water?
I didn't.
Just touch, you don't have to dip the whole thing in to get more, you can just touch the tip
Touch
of
the
it.
tip.
It acts like a sponge once it's wet. That's why when our brushes dry before we start painting for the day, we wanna dampen our brushes so it absorbs the water. A dry sponge takes longer to absorb water. A damp sponge, that's, before we clean, we dampen the sponge. Same with your brush, if you want it to suck in the water in the paint, it needs to be damp. Don't overwork it, if it's a nice mark, leave it alone. Yeah, watercolor, you wanna try to do it in as few strokes as possible.
So,
Yeah, so now, what else? What if we're dragging along and then press down and then twist it up around? Wah, 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 wah.
yeah, whoops.
See? So,
Get a good evergreen green.
Oh, let's think about this.
Evergreeny green.
We haven't even started mixing color yet.
Yeah.
What color would you start with? You got a lot of colors here.
I know. That was a big thing.
Blue.
Yellow
If you
and
had
blue.
only these limited colors, what would make a good evergreen green? I would start with ultramarine blue. Yeah. We're not talking really about who's brought up mixing colors. We're not.
Yeah.
Jumping in.
Yeah. I would
Got
start
me
with
over
ultramarine.
here.
To make it green, you want to add a little yellow, bit at a time. Remember to clean your brush in between because you're mixing the evergreen. You have to clean your brush before you go back to the yellow. And maybe add a little bit of the burnt umber to warm it down. So you're getting more of an olive green. And then you're going to find that balance. Well, nope, that's too green. I want a little more blue. You add a little more blue. And you do that work on your palette.
Okay.
And then you need to mix enough to cover the space you need. I have no idea what time it is because I'm recording in my wait. I have this.
11:35 or so.
Okay, so we have about a half hour. Ooh, goodness, let's get it. Looks pretty dry. It's very nice. Looks dry. Another thing with the
Oh,
small,
the spray bottle?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Do you have a mister?
I did not bring one. I have one.
You can either dip the brush in the paint or you can just, I always check it off to the side first.
Okay. Nice. I like
So there
that.
you got a little bit of water.
Yeah.
And no, mix it, make sure it's even. Okay, good.
That's way too bright.
Okay, now press it down.
Make it wider.
Start on the tips. Press it down.
Oh, really press it down.
So you can go from really thin.
To
Can
really
I,
thick.
may I on here? Sure. So you go from really thin to thick.
Huh.
And swirl it around. So find out, you're becoming familiar with your tools and what they can do. And again, with these two brushes, you can do just about everything. Was that quizzical? Was that look quizzical?
That's just very interesting.
No, no, no. Dawn had this look on her face like,
Yeah, well,
I've got a nice evergreen color here.
Ooh, show off.
Green, but so far it's not working out very well. It's pea green.
but that's a good green. I mean,
It's green, but it's not forest or whatever we were trying to get.
no, because it's why.
Too yellow.
See, I don't even have to say.
Okay. So should I add blue?
You can add some blue. You got a blue and brown combo there. Just mix it in there.
Okay.
No, not over there. I didn't say over there. Just right there. See how it's getting more?
Pea soupy?
So then you rinse your brush and you come back with some more. I don't even know what I have on my brush. Blue.
Ooh. Yeah, that's looking better.
So that's with more blue. And then you could pick up a dot more brown maybe and see what that's doing. So you're learning how to mix color. Watercolor is so great, and you can do this with oil and acrylic too, but it takes longer to mix the colors. Watercolor is a great way to learn the nature of colors, the characters.
I did not realize that if I mixed a color and it dried out, I could reconstitute it. I spent a lot of time with my oils going, now how did I get that? Because it's
Yeah.
dried out.
Right, yeah. Yeah, oil dries up.
Yeah.
Actually, it never dries, actually, it hardens.
It hardens,
Isn't
right?
that, yeah.
Yeah. Red
But yeah,
is the
with
slowest.
watercolor, you can make it, that's why I like pastel too, because pastel, if you don't like a paint, you can scrape it off. I get a little trowel, I collect all that dust. I take that dust, I put it in a little jar, and then when I have enough, I add some water or alcohol, roll it back up like clay, and I've got new pastel sticks.
And
I love
when did you-
reusing supplies.
Wow.
You know?
When did you say you were teaching pastel?
I'm not right now, except online. I offered a class, but it didn't come through.
You?
Huh? I don't know. What do you think? Very thick, very, very, very thick.
Yeah, very
You
thick.
need a lot more water. Try it. Sure.
Okay.
Do,
I just wanted to test the
Yeah.
thickness.
go ahead and test it. Don't be, Dottie, go ahead and be bold with your, just whoosh. Yeah. See how it's dry and it's sitting on top
I like
of the
that.
paper. That's a cool, so if you want that texture, that's, you need dry. But if you want it to be more flowing, you need more water. So yes, you're learning. I'll get into some more color mixing next week for sure. I think practicing brush strokes right now is good.
I'm trying to do a tree, trying to get the two sides fairly even.
Never even.
Well, yeah,
I know.
This is
Nice.
easy, it's just,
yeah. This I like, but I don't see, I guess it just
It's
takes practice.
because it's this, Carla. It's that this is a natural way to do it. This is unnatural. Physiologically, for our body to go in this direction is not natural. And this, so that's why they're going to look different. If you're doing a face, just as an example, we think we're symmetrical. We have an eye on each side. We have not. We're not.
Sure.
If you take a picture of the face and looks like two different people, anything in nature is going to be irregular. You want it to be irregular, unless you have a perfect little Christmas tree, and then it's fake. Right? I mean, that's the only time they're perfect is when they're fake.
Yeah.
And it has no character. So I'll show you one of my trees, and we work on some trees later. But there was something else I wanted to share as well. Oh, how to use these strokes and maybe put them together for something. Here, I'm gonna I love doing pine trees and fir trees and stuff. So there's my little tree. And I have to do this upside down for you guys. So I tend to start the trunk and then go up. There's the peak of the tree. The tiny branches are reaching out and up. As you get midway down, they get a little heavier and they start going out to the side. And then as you get to the base, they're heavy and they kind of fall down. So they,
That's nice.
let me do this again. And they start at the base, move it up. This is at an angle, this is not gonna work as well. But you see how I'm on the tip?
Yeah.
And I'm up,
Yeah.
but then I kind of press it down where I want it thicker toward
Yeah.
the center of the tree.
Mhm.
And then the heavier branches are going down.
Yeah.
It looks like a tree.
And it looks kind of like a tree.
Yeah.
I gotta go shoot Dawn. I keep walking around here. I'm gonna do a quick little flower at some point and a little bird that you can do with just this. So, notice I still brace. I almost always brace. So I go up, there's the trunk, the tiny branches reach up, the middle branches, and I'm up and down, I'm kind of skipping the brush. So there's what they call sky holes. You can see the sky through the tree. If it's a
That's
solid
nice.
tree, it's not as interesting. So you want to see those sky holes kind of shining through. Got it? Fun stuff. Right, Pam?
Absolutely.
All about the fun. Now again, there is the afternoon open studio that it's easy to just go online, and those are signed up 1 week at a time. So, you know, if you're at the end of the class, we're done, or something, you thought, oh, I want to stay and practice more, you can do it, and I can continue helping and guiding. Also on Friday, is it Friday afternoon? No, Friday mornings is a fundamentals of drawing class. If you're uncomfortable with your drawing, there's still room in that, I believe, Pam.
How could there be room in that?
Today, but there is, yes, there is still.
There's still some room. When I was teaching high school, my first thing was learn to draw first. A lot of people don't know how to draw. But
Yeah. I don't either. That's why I was wondering if that was a prerequisite sort of.
no, because you can. I mean, you're having fun. Look at some of these fun things, and you definitely can. But it's going to step you a lot further if you understand form and line and shading and. What was I gonna do now?
A bird and a flower?
Oh, the bird. All right. Well, we saw how you could do the wet and wet, the bleeding, right? Okay, but I don't want it too wet. I want this to dry faster. So I kind of dampened the paper. I'm going to add, I want to do it here, yellow center, and it might spread out. Okay, that's texture. Texture's later. I'm so tempted to just jump ahead on things. That got too dry on me. Sorry about that.
Okay, now what are we on, a bird?
No, I was going to do a little flower
Oh, okay.
to start with. So I can take a nice color, a transparent color, which we'll talk more about next week. Some colors are transparent and some are opaque. I can drop a nice transparent color in the middle, and it's blossoming out. And I'll bring this around to show you after. So this is going to be a fuzzy flower because I really wasn't thinking that well. Now I'm changing my color to the blue, and as I'm picking up the color, I'm slightly rolling my brush in my hand so it's evenly picking up color. See how I'm rolling it? It's going back and forth, but it's also going around in my hand. Then with this, if you just try it on one of your test sheets, press it down, it makes petals. So you see, I'm just pressing it,
Cute as that.
and you have a
So cute.
flower.
Hey, we need an ooh and an ah. I know. Ah.
proud gas.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
is so
I mean,
cute.
I don't know, what does that look like? It looks like some sort of water
Water
lily.
lily, yeah.
That's really nice.
But I did the thing in the
Yeah.
middle, and then I just took this and laid it down to
Yeah.
make marks.
Nice.
Easy peasy. She's like, I am out of
Space.
Yeah, right.
Oh, boy, I did this.
Yeah.
Yeah, really fast.
Excellent.
Just
I'm
did
so
it.
impressed with your work,
Yeah.
Susan. You just
Well, she came over and showed me, but I only had red on my.
Hey,
No.
why not?
All right, and I don't know. How about a bird? Why am I keep going into this blue? I want to change up my colors here. Oh, there we go. This is great. This is my cobalt blue and purple, permanent purple or something. I don't know. I'm going to do it for the video first. This is a lot of editing. That same press, if you notice, you can just press that brush down and you get that, what's that shape?
Petal shape.
A spearhead shape, right? Yeah, petal shape. So I'm going to hold it up high, and I'll come around and do this, but I'm doing it for the camera first. A little press, head, body, tail. Okay. Oh, I didn't hold it there. See? Okay. Sorry, it's upside down. Again, the tip of the brush, a little press down. I'm dragging it just slightly to get a little shape. Then this, I'm going to kind of start here, kind of press it down so it's fatter, fatten around, and lift it up to get the wing.
I was gonna say, it doesn't look like a flower.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
This is a bird.
I didn't realize that when you said wing.
It's not a bird.
Oh, well,
You were focused.
I was.
Can my
Oh,
yard
sure,
move
please,
fast?
yeah, that's fine.
So, we've got this, right? Whoops, that didn't come out very about that. But we're gonna do it very tiny, and then press down and circle it around, just slightly circle it around, lift it up. So 3 strokes. 1, 2, yeah, that's a horrible one.
That's a heron.
Right? So you do it, and instead of trying to fix it, like, no, this is supposed to be said, you go with it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a heron. I'm
It's
good.
a bird, it's a plane, it's a plane. Oh, no,
Yeah, no.
wrong show. Okay.
What was I watching? I'm watching again Kamitsky Method,
Oh, that's
Have you
great,
seen
yeah, that's.
and they're referring back to things like from our generation, and the daughter's going like, what? When I started teaching Spanish, I used the Gilligan Island song.
Oh.
Donde es where and cuando's when and cuanto is how much. Well, the kids,
Oh,
you get
cool.
to
That's a great idea.
and they didn't know the song because
Oh,
they never
no.
watched Gilligan's Island.
They're
So,
lost.
yeah. So here's a mark here. Oh, high school kids and junior high, you just do whatever you can to
Yeah,
trick
my
them
bird
into
looks like
thinking.
a
So a
snake.
little
Absolutely.
thing, and then I kind of brush it around, press down on my brush, and bring it up to be a wing. So it's just using this mark,
Got a fat duck.
but just on the tip, and then bringing it down. Whoops, I need the head up, and around, and the bird.
Really?
And you can put little legs on it if you want. Whoops, this is not working.
Oh, well, maybe it
Is
is.
it?
You know what? I don't mind that, actually. I don't mind that.
Yeah, try the petal stroke for. Oh, I didn't show you the flower. You're back here, and I didn't
Yeah,
show you the.
No,
Oh,
I
you
was,
got it.
I was
Okay.
watching.
It's just like petal, petal, petal. And then you can drop something in the middle. So you can make some really nice little images with hardly any work.
Skill. That's my kind of art.
I love it, Marcia. I have no skill, but I can paint.
Make a flower.
I can make a flower.